In this video, I'm going to demonstrate solving for an unknown with one of our variable cost variances, and I'm using direct materials just as an example with exercise 1610. So let's jump into this. They want us to solve for what's the actual price per gallon, and they gave us some information. They gave the standard was $56. That's what we thought we should have paid. The actual quantity used was 4,370, and the standard of what we thought we should have used for production was 4,400 gallons. Our price variance is given as 17,043 unfavorable. Since I'm given the price variance, let's just list the formula for that for materials to see if that helps out, and I can plug in these variables and solve for the unknown. The materials price variance is the actual quantity times the difference between the actual price that we paid per unit or per gallon in this situation minus the standard price. So I'm looking at the difference in what I actually paid versus the standard, and then I'm multiplying it times a quantity. So let's plug in and again see if I can solve for the actual price if I've got the three other variables in this formula. I'm going to start here on the right hand side. Actual quantity. Well, for materials, there is a question depending upon whether you're doing the price or the quantity slash efficiency variance. Am I using the actual quantity used or actual quantity purchased? For the price variance for material, I want to use the actual quantity purchased. Well, I'm not given the amount purchased, but on the other hand, I'm not told that the inventory level is changing, so I'm going to assume the actual quantity used is the same as the actual quantity purchased and plug in that 4,370 for the actual quantity. I don't know, again, the actual price, so I'm just going to leave that as AP. You can use A or whatever letter or combination of letters that you want. I do know that the standard price per gallon was $56, so I'm going to plug that in here. Then I'm going to jump over here on the left-hand side and input our variance, which is 17,043. Now, I will note it works out in this situation that I'm listing it as a positive number. And normally with these variances, we don't think in terms of positive, negative. We think in terms of favorable, unfavorable. But when I'm using the formula to back into an unknown, it is important. Ultimately, because we're talking about cost, if it is an unfavorable variance, I'm going to leave it as positive. And if I think about it and jump over here on the right-hand side, that would be because this is cost, and we anticipate that the actual price would be something greater than the standard price, would make it unfavorable. Again, if we're talking about these variances, if it had been favorable, I would have entered it as a negative over here on the left-hand side. And the reason why is if it was favorable, and we're talking about cost, our assumption is that the actual price would have been less than the standard price, and therefore our answer would have been negative, which we would have transferred into a favorable variance. Just want to note that because I don't know what you're going to get on quizzes and exams. So I'm just going to go ahead and use algebra and some mathematics to work this out. 17,043 equals 4,370 times AP, or 4,370 AP, minus 4,370 times 56, or minus 244,720. Now, as accounting and finance folks, I didn't work through all the algebra steps, but I'll at least on the screen, but at least talk through. Ultimately, I want to get the variable on one side and the numbers on the other side, so I'm going to add 244,720 to both sides. If I add that to 17,043, it ends up being 261,763 and leaves me with equals 4,370 AP on the right-hand side. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 4,370 AP, which is going to get rid of the 4,370 AP on the right-hand side, but 261,763 divided by 4,370 equals $59.90. So as we anticipated, the price we paid is greater than the standard, which is why we had an unfavorable variance.